Good morning and welcome to the next Family Business Insight here with Family Business United. I'm delighted today to be joined by the third generation at Dunsters Farm up in Bury. So welcome Hannah and Tom.
Hi.
Hi.
Let's start with telling us a little bit about what you do, because I think people will think farming, Dunsters Farm farming, and let's just clear that one up right from the start. So what do you do?
So unfortunately we're not a farm. Always the first question we get asked, and there's no animals apart from the office dog, so apologies for the major disappointment if you thought you were going to talk to farmers. We're not. The business did originally start life on a farm, a working farm, but today we're a food service. We operate out of more of a warehouse situation in Bury in North Manchester, and we mainly cater for education, NHS customers, cafes and leisure centres, hospitality industry, excuse me. So yeah, we serve food, both chilled and ambient, across the north of England.
Okay, and the two of you represent the third generation of the family to be involved. Explain a little bit about the history in terms of the family involvement in the business.
So the business was set up back in 1963 by our grandfather, Les Ratcliffe. Always been in Bury, so we're heading towards our 60th year operating in the same town, which is, you know, great for us to be here, and it's something we're very, very proud of. About 40 years ago, our mother Elizabeth, Leslie's eldest daughter, she's one of five, she started to take over the business with our father Jeremy. So interestingly, Jeremy's family also had a similar business, but on the other side of the Pennines over in Yorkshire. So that's how they met. So family business is definitely in our blood. So when our parents met and got married, our father started working for the business, and then they gradually took over the business from our grandfather together. None of the other family members have played much of a role in the business, apart from our uncle James. He joined the business once he left school, and he was a director here until around about 5 years ago when we joined the business. He left to pursue other interests. So we're a third generation. Our grandfather's no longer with us, but we hope that he'd be very proud of what we're doing. I think he'd be probably mortified at some of the products we've brought on. They're probably not his bag, but I think he'd be really interested to see how the business has grown. He's real keen entrepreneur himself, so I'm hoping he'd be really proud of us.
I guess the third generation, there's lots of talk around the rags to riches story. The third generation, it all goes horribly wrong, and you've had to deal with some serious challenges this year, which we'll come on to a bit later on.
We sure have.
Talking about that transition, so the two of your siblings, so we'll come on to the sibling piece in a minute too, but what are your first memories, the two of you, in terms of the business and getting involved? And then was there a plan for you to take over, and how did that happen?
Great question, Paul. I'll let Tom answer that one.
I think, to be honest, we grew up with it, absolutely grew up with it. I think every single summer we would have been in, and we weren't given an easy ride, that's for sure. Whether it was my granddad or our parents, we'd be sweeping the floor, we'd be going out with lorry drivers, helping lift stuff, probably stuff that would be all probably illegal today. But that's what we did, and I think actually in terms of my perspective anyway, we were never pushed into the business though. We were forced to work in the summer holidays as free labour, but we were not forced to do it after our sort of education, and we were encouraged actually to sort of, it was kind of taboo, we never really spoke about it. We kind of just go and do your own thing, and we don't want to force this on you. But we were both really interested in the business. But one thing that I to be honest, kind of hit me when I worked in it was in the summer, and I worked on a gap year to save up to go away for a few months, was that I just felt that, I wasn't really taken seriously, probably understandably, as I had no experience doing anything, and that things were very set in their ways, as family businesses can be over many, many years as they evolve. So I actually it pushed me away from business, and I went to pursue a career in law. So I became a lawyer, and Hannah went into marketing, and we did completely different things. So that was kind of our experience growing up. We were both very proud of the business, both very fond of the business, but didn't necessarily think that we were welcome in the business, or that it was actually, the wisest thing for us to do. So we went away for probably maybe 10 years each.
Okay, and is that something you think other families could learn from you then Tom, in terms of the words you used, I think, were that you almost pushed away? were there conversations going on at that stage in terms of help you make that decision, or was it just you made the decision and went away?
I think our parents just actively wanted us to do something that we would enjoy and that we had our own choice about. So they were very keen on kind of encouraging us to get a good education and to do something that we wanted to do. I think perhaps both of them, I mean, it's hard to say on their behalf, but I think they perhaps felt like they had to go into their family businesses, especially my mum. I think she felt like, as the eldest of 5 children, that was her role. And I don't think she necessarily got any other option at all. I think it was kind of, right, okay, you've left school, come on, Elizabeth, you're off to the farm. And I think that kind of, it's not something she necessarily regrets. I think it's given her lots of opportunities, and obviously the business has served her well and has provided, a business for the entire family. But I think if she had a chance again, she might have gone and done something herself first and then gone into the business like we did. So I think that's kind of, she didn't want us to kind of have that same experience where potentially you could end up regretting being forced into something that you didn't really want to do.
Yeah, which is something we come across quite a lot. Did you join at the same time, or was it a staggered approach, or was it just kind of day one, that's it, we're in it together?
No, so we both joined at the same time on the exact same day, which was, a very strange situation. I think probably for the staff team more than ourselves. It was probably quite weird for them all. The way it came about was that obviously succession planning is such a big issue in family businesses, and our uncle wanted to pursue some other things in his life, so kind of that would have been the natural progression, would be that he would have taken over, but because that wasn't going to be the case, obviously our parents had to look for something else, and they approached us. I think our dad rang us both, and weirdly enough, without knowing, we both said exactly the same thing. So when he approached me, I was quite happy in the role I was in, but I was always looking for something new, and Tom was the same. We were quite insecure roles, and we kind of enjoyed our careers. But I said, well, okay, I'll consider it, but I'll only do it if Tom will do it. And weirdly enough, that's exactly what Tom said. He was like, okay, I'll consider it, but only if Hannah will do it. It was kind of like, you either take both of us or you take none of us. Which is really weird because we hadn't discussed it between ourselves either. But I think it was kind of just unwritten that, if we're going to tackle this, we'd do it together.
Yeah, I think we definitely had an understanding of, from the involvement as we grew up in the business. We knew the scale of what needed to be done if we wanted the business to progress to how we would want to run the business. So I think we both had that understanding, and I think that's why we probably both said this is too big for one of us to do on our own. You'll come across in family businesses, I'm sure, when a generation tries to change what the other generation and what the employees who've been throughout that generation have been doing for a long time, it can be very hard. And I think even we appreciated it, but then we probably still underestimated how hard that was going to be at first as well to get that change.
And from day one, Tom, did you have, obviously you've got very clearly different skill sets in terms of marketing and the legal professional background. Did you have defined roles when you came in, or was it very much come in and then dabble a bit and see where you went, or did you know where you wanted to go?
I think we didn't necessarily know from day one, but it quickly became very apparent that it would be stupid of us not to use our skill sets within the business. So it kind of was a very natural split. And I think we are really fortunate in that, we've spoken to so many other family businesses where the next generation all want to do the same thing. And that's really hard because, everyone's got to play their role. And I think we are particularly fortunate that we have the same ideas about things. And I think because obviously we're family, so we've been brought up in a very similar way. I think that helps in terms of our outlook and our ideas for the business, but actually our skill sets are very different. And I think that's really been a blessing for us as we've tried to kind of like tackle this transition period.
And your roles in the business, you're joint managing directors, so you're also brother and sister, and we see lots of families where they have to fight to become managing director not fight necessarily, but there's a challenging process to go through to pick the managing director. And some would say it's really hard to have joint managing directors, so then you put into the mix that you're joint managing directors and siblings. How does that work? It obviously works really well for you, you're both smiling, but how does that work in practice?
So yeah, it's slightly different actually. So it's myself and my dad Jeremy that are the joint managing directors, and Tom's a director as well, as is our mother Elizabeth. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a natural split again with the skill set that we had and the role that we wanted to play. Don't get me wrong, joint managing director is a really tricky role to have, and I don't know whether I would recommend it to lots of businesses. I think as part of a transition process for a family business, as you go in between generations, I think it does help kind of ease the process a little bit, especially for the staff team, rather than having some sort of like break point. It kind of gets people used to it, and also gets yourselves used to it as well. You know, there's a lot to learn coming into any business, and especially a family business.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I think that's definitely it. I think, you know, we've got a variety of staff. We've got a lot of new staff, but we've also got a lot of staff who've been with us a long time. And, you know, it is natural for them to identify, you know, with my dad as the managing director. So like Hannah said, this is it has been a great way to sort of transition that period. But as a long-term strategy, like Hannah said, I don't think it's something we would go for, because I think you really need that clarity in the structure, and that you know, that figurehead or that head of the business needs to be clear.
Yeah, and you mentioned your father's still involved and your mum's still involved behind the scenes too on a day-to-day basis. How, when you came in, when you took over the kind of the leadership roles, how did you manage that with the staff? Was there any? You mentioned earlier on that it was difficult to gain their respect when you first got involved. What steps did you take to really make sure you kept them on board and on the journey with you, having been on the journey with your parents before you?
I think in a way it did take time. It's different people, and different people in the business react differently to change. And that change management piece was the hardest bit. When we had that element of people who jumped on board straight away to see the changes that were beneficial already and quite quickly, and that it was beneficial for them to sort of get on board with us and you know, play ball, so to speak, because it was going to be in their interest, and things were going to improve. But then there was also, you know, the other end of the spectrum and everyone in between. And the other end of the spectrum, you know, dragging their feet, digging their heels in, very worried that their time might be up. And you know, and so you get that full spectrum of people. But I think over time that came through. We didn't have a huge budget at the time. You know, ourselves were wearing many hats, you know, still do to, you know, in any family business, but at the time we were really doing a lot of things. So we didn't have a huge budget to get rid of people who weren't on board. But over time we've managed to manage that. Some people have left, some people have been performance, and it's kind of evolved now to more a team where we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Okay. It's a really valuable thing to have.
I think one of the other things that's really helped, and I don't think everyone has this to their benefit, is that our parents have really allowed us to take the reins. So although they are, you know, actively involved and extremely interested, let me put it that way, in what we're doing, you know, it's still, you know, we discuss everything with them. There's not been one thing that they've said no to. And I think if that was me and it was my children, I would be terrified and also really reluctant to give them that free rein. So I mean, we couldn't have been more fortunate in that sense. You know, we've made some very big decisions and they've supported us fully, and I think that's helped us because it's given us the confidence to do those things, and the platform to do them on. So I think that's kind of helped the transition as well, is that they've kind of, although they're around, they have taken a bit of a back step, which has allowed us to kind of be seen more as the leaders of the business.
Yeah. We had to make that clear at the outset as well when we sat down with mum and dad. We said, if we're going to come into the business, then we need to be involved, if not making every important decision for the business. If we're just going to come into the business and not make, you're going to carry on making all the decisions, which was really hard. You know, I remember my dad would say that if he was on this call, I'm sure he would hold his hands up and say that was the hardest bit for him, because as managing director of the business for 30 years, he had made every single decision of that business. It was, you know, it wasn't far off an autocracy, and he'll probably hit me for saying that. But you know, he did, and that was really hard for him to let go of that control. But we made that really clear. We said we can't carry on like this because it will only end in frustration and, you know, and difficulties down the line. So we had to sit around the table and discuss every decision going forward. And it is good. It's been good for us because, you know, sometimes it slows things down. but is that always a bad thing? You have to, if we've got an idea, you've got to prove you've got to prove it to someone to sort of win them over. And it's, why are we doing that? Oh, well, what's wrong with the way we do it now?
Yeah.
And, and then you've got to really explain it and prove it.
I think from our backgrounds as well, because we both came from quite corporate backgrounds, you'd have always had to justify anything with a business plan and a justification rationale for what you're doing. That was kind of where we come from. So that wasn't anything new to us. We knew we would have to get approval for something. But I think at the start, we really tackled it as if, it was how we used to work in our previous roles. And I think that helped because it allowed us to professionalize the decision-making process. And it really, I think, kind of helped us because we could see the other side of it. We had someone playing devil's advocate, and it made us make the right decisions. I think that has changed a little bit over time, and we can make probably quicker decisions and act a lot more with a lot more agility, I think, now.
I think that's progressive as well. As you make decisions and they pay off, then that's helped my dad then let go further, because he's seen the results, which is fortunate. Some things, not everything goes right, but the vast majority of what we've done has seen an improvement. So that allows him then to say, no, you're getting this right. I can step back a little bit here on the decision making side of things.
So it's given you guys the confidence. I guess the one thing we often see with a family business, with the generational divide, is that the older generation find it really hard to let go. It's their baby. They've done it for years. It's been what they do. And I know, Hannah, we spoke before, and even during lockdown, your dad was popping in to the business from time to time because they just can't stop. Yeah. But I think what you're talking about is the fact that you had a clear framework and a structure, and you had a professionalism that actually you applied to what you did when you came back to the family firm to really help that process along.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things we really benefited from not going straight into the family business. And I know not everyone has that luxury, but it did let us see kind of how things are done in the world out there that isn't just Dunsters Farm. Because, there's a lot of brilliant businesses out there that we can really learn from, and that's what we still do now. This is why, we're part of Family Business United. It's so that we can learn from other brilliant businesses, because we do not have all the answers, but we know that people out there do, and they can help. And I think that's kind of something we really try and continue to do all the time. So we brought with us what we thought were the best bits of our corporate backgrounds, and we really didn't bring the bad bits, because what was the point? So you can kind of pick and choose, and that's the beauty of running your own business, and that's the beauty of a family business. All that flexibility. So why not use it to your advantage?
Yeah, and I'm absolutely keen to learn more. So that's part of the reason why we're involved with Family Business United and as many other sort of networks and things that we can be, because there's always so much more you can learn and bring into a family business, because you really have that blank canvas to run it the way you want it to be run.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Tom, that's one of the reasons that one of the benefits, I think, of lockdown, not that the lockdown's been great and coronavirus has been horrendous for everybody, but actually it's given everyone, although they're fighting fires, time to reflect and restock. And actually people have become really willing to share their ideas, because actually people aren't alone. And that's broken one of the myths we've had for years, that everybody running a family business thinks they're unique and they're in isolation, was actually not. We're all in this together, and there's that willingness to share.
Yeah, I think that was something that our family business definitely felt. I know, from our father, he didn't really share anything. It was very closed ranks, and it was like, no, this is our business and no one else is getting involved. Whereas I think with a new generation, obviously we come with quite a different outlook. And I think that has helped in a lot of ways, because it's opened our eyes to other opportunities and to other people and different ways of working. So I think it is a good thing. It's just probably very scary for the generation before you.
Yeah, I came from a background where, it was a legal background where networking is absolutely everything to the lawyers. How do they get new clients? They have to make relationships. And I came from that, where networking, you were given training sessions on how to network and all sorts of spoon-fed ridiculous things. I went into a business that didn't have any network. It was completely operating alone, not even with partners in terms of business partners or supplier partners. It was pretty much just buying and selling on its own account.
Yeah.
So that was a big change for me, and obviously something that over the last sort of 5 or 6 years we've managed to change for the better, I think.
Listening to the two of you, and I've known you for a few years now, you're both very entrepreneurial individuals in your own right, and then you put it together and it becomes this kind of entrepreneurial force. We can't host a discussion at this time without mentioning the pandemic and the implications of the pandemic. So for a business like yours, lockdown sort of happens, I guess your core customers, hospitality, schools, hotels, restaurants start to close down. What were the implications for you as a business, and how did you react?
So yeah, I know, we're not alone in this, but overnight 95% of our customer base closed their doors. That is too much for any business. So it was, it was quite, scary in some ways, but I think, we kind of thought, well, you've still got to do something. You can't just, we couldn't close the doors because we were serving schools and hospitals. We didn't have that luxury, I suppose. So basically the show had to continue. And we always say, we have to keep the show on the road. That's kind of one of the sayings that we have within the business in the morning. Like, when we get the vans out, it's come on, the show's on the road. We know everything's going okay. So it was kind of, how do we do that? How do we keep the show on the road? So we had to just come up with ideas and come up with them quickly. And I don't think we didn't kind of sit down and go, oh, crisis meeting, what do? We kind of just went for it. And I think that's, that's the real beauty of having a family business. And I think, everyone listening to this is part of a family business, and that's what you really need to remember, is that it's a real benefit because you can just go for it. Whereas other businesses, that I've worked in, you'd have to have so many meetings about it and decide what you're going to do, and then it has to be agreed, it has to go to a different board or whatever. We didn't need to do that, so we could work really fast, and we did. We had to pivot, and we've pivoted more than once. So, and we're still going for it. Our business is not back yet. It's mainly education, and they're not going to be back till September. And when they come back, who knows what it'll look like in the catering sector. So, we are in this for the long haul. So, we've had to be prepared to keep coming up with new ideas. And we're fortunate that we've got a great team with us who come up with brilliant ideas and really kind of go for it. So I think it makes you take more risks maybe than you've taken before, because you've got to. But I think for us, it's really sped up what we're already doing. So we've always, been looking to the future. It's always about future-proofing the business. So we had loads of ideas, but whilst you're running a business every day, you don't always get the time to do that. Whereas lockdown, our customers weren't there. So it was like, okay, right, all those ideas we had, let's get moving with them. So yeah, that's kind of what we've done really. So I suppose what we would have done over the next maybe 2-3 years has all happened within 3-4 months. So we've just gone for it.
Yeah, I think the first thing we did, was, it was never panic. Even though you think if someone told you you're going to get 95% of your customers close overnight, you think there would be panic, but there wasn't. We sat down, all the directors, kind of as a family, and said, oh, what are we going to do here? I mean, you could see it coming. It didn't just come out of the blue, did it? You saw this happening in China and then in Italy, and you thought this is going to come soon. So the first thing we did was protect the people in the business. That was really important in terms of looking after their physical safety, making sure that anyone who could work from home. We took all the measures that we could do, making sure that the workplace was safe for those who had to carry on. And also we took the financial measures to protect the business as well. So we were very quick into the sort of government support, making sure we were fully set up for the JRS and for CBILS, and realistic as well. We were going to have a cash flow issue, and you could lose so many customers, and you don't know how long it's going to go on for. So we planned for all that, and I think getting that done first was the most important thing. And then we set about straight away, and it was at the same time. Maybe I was more on that side with my dad trying to plan that, whilst Hannah was thinking, planning the pivot and planning the change and how we're going to keep going and keep our staff with something to do. So that's how we kind of approached it.
And Hannah, what did you do? So wholesale business, wholesale distribution business, dries up overnight. What did you do?
So originally, within a day or two, we opened our doors to the public, which is not something we've ever done before. But it kind of took us back to our roots, I suppose, because our grandfather was a milkman. That's how he started the business. So instead of kind of going and delivering pallets to our customers of goods, we let them come to us, and also we went out and did home deliveries. So right at the start of lockdown, I'm sure everyone remembers, no one could get pasta or rice or toilet roll. We had loads of that, a whole warehouse full, in fact, and no one knew we were there, because that's kind of how our business runs. We're kind of behind the scenes. We're not in everyone's faces. People see our vans on the roads, and they might have heard of some of our products, But, you know, apart from that, we're quite invisible, I think, to, you know, the general public. So we made ourselves really visible. You know, we talked to the local papers, we tried to get our name out there as much as possible. We started really kind of going on social media. We really ramped up our efforts to get known and to remind people of Dunsters Farm. And a lot of people then started coming back with their stories of when they were young and they used to have the milk off our granddad, and, you know, all those things started coming out, which was great because it really helped boost that community spirit, which was so strong, especially at the start of lockdown. So yeah, so we allowed people to come to us, which was quite scary, I think, for our team, because that is not what we normally do. And also there were all the guidance that they had to follow as well. So we had to be really clear on social distancing and how we were going to operate safely to make sure our team felt safe. That was so important to us. And we really kind of spearheaded it and made sure we were leading the way with that. And then we turned to home delivery, which meant we had to set up a kind of B2C website within a 2-week period. I think it was perhaps less than that. So thankfully we know some very good people who can help us with that. So, you know, we're not web designers, but we know some really good ones. So they just worked day and night to get that up for us. And that was really helpful. And it still is, you know, it's waning now. People are starting to go back to more normal business, but you know, you can get supermarket delivery slots now much easier, and you're not having to fight for your toilet roll, which is good. So that kind of, but it really did serve us well during those first few weeks, and it really helped local community. We had such really positive feedback, and obviously that's kind of helped improve our relationships with the local people as well, and our community that we're in, which is brilliant, and I think something that will help us going forward as well. So we started doing that. It has now changed, and it's about to change again, so that we can offer not just to the local community, but things further afield. So yeah, we're constantly looking to evolve. We also worked with as many local producers that we could, especially family businesses. So we approached people that we know through our networks and said, look, we know everyone's struggling. Like, look, could we sell your product? We don't normally, because we normally go into caterers with bulk sizes, but, you know, actually we're going to homes now, so people love your stuff and we've got the wheels to deliver it, and that worked really well as well. So we've made some great partnerships that we're now looking to build on over the next few months.
The family business community was great for that, because obviously there's so many great quality products of provenance out there who are, you know, made by family businesses. So that was a brilliant relationships to have already, and actually made setting up that much easier than just starting from a cold start or an email or a phone call. But you actually already knew these people, or you knew someone who knew them. So it made things much easier, and we look to carry that on, and we look to carry on dealing direct with the public, which is, you know, really exciting for us.
Yeah, because we've always been very B2B. And that's kind of our bread and butter, I suppose. So excuse the really bad pun. Yeah, I mean, it's just opened our eyes, I suppose. Lockdown in particular, you said, you know, that it has given people a chance to reflect. I suppose for us, you know, there's every likelihood, unfortunately, there might be a second wave or something similar could happen again. You know, we're not naive in any sense. So I think what we want now is our future from the business that we were doing prior to lockdown has obviously had to change its focus a little bit. And we're now really looking at how we can diversify the business even further, so that if our customers do have to close their doors again, and, you know, we really hope they don't, but if they do, what will we do? You know, how do those wheels keep going then? And I think we're in such a strong position now. You know, yeah, our turnover's gone down drastically, and it still is. But I think, you know, on the way out of this, it leaves us a stronger business.
Is there anything you would have done differently?
Again, good question, Paul.
Sorry.
I think certain things that we were working on already, and you could see as trends anyway happening. And, you know, in some way, you know, we were really keen to do, but as a family business, as we all know, you get caught up in the day-to-day too much. And I think the key challenge for us is, I mean, a great example of that is Hannah. She's marketing background, but the amount of marketing Hannah's had to do in the past few weeks is probably more than she's ever had to do in the previous 6 years, because we were B2B before. And it was always part of the plan to free Hannah up so that she could focus on marketing more. But we never got around to it, or we were very slowly getting around to it, and it wasn't quick enough. But this is just, you know, we need support on this. We need to focus, you know, we need to take some things off Hannah so she can focus on the marketing, because all of a sudden we're dealing direct to the public and marketing is, you know, absolutely essential.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing. I mean, we looked at replacing the phone system, and I really liked it. I was like, it's brilliant. It would be a voice over internet system. Anyone could plug in and work from home, and it would be as if you were in the office. And I was like, it's brilliant. But we sat down sort of 3 months before the pandemic, and we had a bit of life left in the old system. There was nothing wrong with it. And the way we worked at the time, it was perfectly suited for. And the new system was a cost and more expensive. And despite me really liking it, I sat down with our project manager, and he was like, I get it, I like it too, but the money, you know, what's the point? We can leave this for another few years and then we'll migrate it over. But it's those things. If you can see a trend happening, don't hang around. If you're convinced that's the way things are going, make the move. If we'd already had that system in place, then working remotely would have been seamless. Whereas actually, that was a really difficult few weeks, because we've since pressed go on that system and implemented it. But it was in the middle of the pandemic and it was chaotic. Yeah. So I think trying to free up that headspace is the one thing, you know, and really, you know, everyone says that's important, freeing up the room for you to make the strategic directional decisions. If you can do that, do it, because you'll benefit.
It's the whole focus on working on the business and taking time out to look at the bigger picture, isn't it? And then actually coming back and doing it rather than just diving into the detail on it. And inevitably, given what's been going on, everyone's got into the detail. Yeah. Having done, this is probably the sixth of these type insight events we've done over the web, which again, it's a new skill for us and something I'm still getting to grips with. The thing that I've taken from all of them is that the successful families out there are the ones that, even though it's hard and revenues are down, they're still investing in the next stages and investing for the future, be it in products and marketing, and not cutting the marketing spend, which is the one thing that everyone cuts off.
I think, you know, probably some of our staff team, they didn't say it to our faces, but I think they thought we were probably mental, like really crazy, because at the start, you know, we were bringing on all these new products that we'd never sold before. And they're like, well, we've got a warehouse full of stuff that's not moving and we've no customers to deliver to. But we knew we had to adapt our product range right from the start to be able to give our new customer base, that we didn't really know who they were necessarily, but give them what they wanted. So, you know, we've had to take some risks there. And don't, you know, I'm not telling you everything's paid off. It's not, you know, some things we probably wouldn't have done if we did it again, but we had to just go for it. And now, you know, the past few weeks, we've been talking about further investment in technology, and especially in e-commerce, which I think is something that's come out of the pandemic, you know, is a real kind of big thing. I think e-commerce has probably sped up, you know, 5 years in the last few months. You know, it's really kind of pushed ahead. So we want to be part of that. And we see, you know, wholesale distribution really having to up their game. So that's something that we're really looking now to invest in. So like you said, you know, we can't just stand still, and we've never stood still. And there's no point standing still now, because, you know, at the start, we were probably fighting for our business. So we just have to keep going.
Which, to be fair, and that sums up nicely for me in terms of into last week, you were crowned the Entrepreneurial Family Business of the Year at the Family Business of the Year Awards last week for that very reason. What does winning an award like that mean to you?
It's kind of, I suppose, well, it's really lovely, but I suppose
right thing to say.
Yeah, and thank you very much. But I suppose for us, it's the justification that what we're doing is kind of seen by other people as the right thing to do, because when it's just you doing it, sometimes it's hard to see the bigger picture. And to, you know, if someone said to us, "Are you entrepreneurs?" we're like, no. But you know, I think we do have that kind of those skills. I think we do. That's kind of how we've been brought up, is to kind of be entrepreneurial. You know, our grandfather most definitely was entrepreneurial, and you know, not always the risk you take work, but I think it's given us the right basis and the right foundation to try and grow the business and really take the risk when we've had to.
I think, yeah, Paul, I think it's really, really, you know, it was a really great award to win, and it really was an honour, because I think we would both think of ourselves as entrepreneurial, but whether you think yourself as an entrepreneur, you may think of someone who started a business. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important for family businesses, especially in the subsequent generations after the first, is where you think, well, no, I'm just I'm not an entrepreneur, I've just got a business. And, you know, there is that sort of people that, oh, you just inherited this, you've been given this business. And it isn't like that at all, because, you know, many businesses go out of business, many family businesses fail. Like you said, the third generation, you know, the curse of the third generation as being known as a thing, that's, you know, that's for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to be just as entrepreneurial as someone starting a business, because it has to evolve to survive and adapt to over the years, you know. When it has, and the business has had a history of doing that. You know, we started off as milk, you know, a milk round, and that evolved to selling more. Then it was the boom in the sort of 70s, 80s of the corner shops that powered the business. That's probably looking back, still probably a much more successful time than we have today. And then the supermarkets came in, wiped out that business, and we started dealing with the odd supermarket. And then we went into education, and now we've evolved it again. So you have to evolve to survive, and you have to be entrepreneurial. So it was such an honor to win that award, because, you know, in the last 3 months, we have, you know, completely built a new business model.
I think one of the things we always say when we're, you know, recruiting for a new member of staff, or, you know, talking to people about the business is, you know, we're coming up to 60 years in business, but if you want to work for us, you've got to kind of have a startup mentality, because that's what we try and kind of put across the business is, you know, we're quite a young management team, and we want to make sure that this business is here for another 60 years. But I think you have to have that kind of entrepreneurial thoughts to be able to kind of propel it further. And I think, you know, every generation's had its challenges. We're not the first and we won't be the last. So, you know, you just have to overcome them in the way that you see fit.
Tom.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I think if you treat it like you're the first generation and that you're fighting all the time to survive and grow, then you've got, you know, you'll know you won't go far wrong, will you? I think you can't see yourself as, you know, we're a 60-year-old business, and you can't slip into that mindset of we've always been around and we'll just carry on being around, because you really won't. And the pandemic has just, you know, has really emphasized that, hasn't it? That if you don't change, then the world will change and you'll be left behind.
Yeah, that's really wise words there. And to be fair, that you look at the oldest family firms in Britain, the reason they're still around today in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th generation, they're constantly reinventing themselves. And I think listening to you two, you've got such energy for what you do. You clearly love what you do, and you clearly love, despite everything that's been going on around you, you still love what you do. And what I love about talking to the next generation is very much that there is an energy. And I think the pandemic has actually brought that energy to the fore, because people are stepping up because they have to. Yeah. But it's forcing them to move forward and actually grow their businesses in ways that they may not have done for a few years to come. So listening to the two of you is really inspirational. All I can say is congratulations on the award win next week. Really well deserved. Good luck with what's happening now and the plans that you've got for the future, because I know it's a really exciting time for you. Hannah and Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. For the rest of you, this is the latest in a series of insights. They're all available on our YouTube channel if you want to go and catch up with some of the previous interviews that we've done. There are more to come over the summer. We wish you all the very best for the weekend. Keep safe and well. And Tom and Hannah, thank you very much. It's nice to see you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh no, that one. Did I just cut everybody off? Tom, you still there?
We're still
Yeah,
there.
we're still here.
Press the stop recording button, but I didn't. I pressed end the seminar before pressing it, but it has saved it, so it's all good. That was really, really interesting. And I know you went, I don't know if you can see who was on the call with you.
We saw a few at the start, but then we couldn't look at it at the same time.
We're concentrating.
So Maria and Izzy were there, and they were typing a few things, and I can't multitask. I can't do the screen, the questions, and think about what I want to say. So I will follow up with Maria and Izzy, but I know they were in the audience, so we're wishing you all the best. So I will send you the link. I'll save that later when I get the recording through, and we'll put it up onto the YouTube channel and share it with you. But really, really interesting, and I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Well, yeah, thank you. We appreciate the support, Paul.
Yeah, it's really big. It's all a really big boost. So thank you very much.
No, it's nice to see you. Well, I'm also really pleased to see for the first time in however many months that you're actually close together.
Yeah,
yeah,
the closest we've been.
We're probably breaking all sorts of rules here. I think it's about 70 centimetres. I don't think that's 1 metre plus, is it?
I think we'll have to create a bubble.
Oh, Hannah, be careful what you say. You never know.
Oh, I know. We might get stuck with each other.
Let's see. Well, if there's anything else we can do, please just ask. And yeah, good luck with what you're doing, and keep in touch.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Have a good day, you too. Bye bye.